Hello, and welcome to topic 1 of math. In this topic or this chapter, we're going to talk about understanding place values. Let's take a look at lesson 1. Lesson 1 is going to focus on patterns with exponents and powers of 10. Now, our guiding question for this lesson is going to be, how can you explain patterns in the number of zeros in a product? So we're going to think about the different patterns we see in numbers that have zeros in them as part of the product. Let's take a look at our short video lesson, and then we're going to jump into our notes and our guided practice together.
How can you explain patterns in the number of zeros in a product? Tamara's new horse weighs about 1,000 pounds. How can you show 1,000 as a power of 10 using an exponent? The weight of the horse is 1,000 pounds. 1,000 is a power of 10 because it can be formed by multiplying 10 by itself 3 times. The exponent is the number that tells how many times a base number is used as a factor. Why would you use exponents to write the product when multiplying by a power of 10?
Select your answer.
Okay, so the reason we use exponents is because it's less writing. So when we're working with powers of 10, we are working with how many times that number is going to be multiplied by itself. So our base number, if we're working with powers of 10, our base number is going to be 10. So 10 to the first power, we never write out to the first power to the power of 1 because it's just 10. So we just write 10. 10 to the second power, or 10 squared, is 10 times 10. It's the number multiplied by itself. So that exponent tells you how many times the number is going to be multiplied by itself. So 10 times 10 is the same thing as 10 to the second power. 10 to the third power is going to be 10 times 10 times 10. There's 3 of them that we're multiplying. So instead of writing it out as a whole number, we use exponents because it makes it simpler and shorter when we're doing our writing.
Using exponents is a simpler and shorter way to show multiplication by powers of 10. Write 1,000 as a product using 10 as a factor. The exponent 3 shows that the base number 10 is multiplied 3 times.
Okay, so let's pause here for a moment before we move on in the video. Now, that 3 is not telling you that it's 10 multiplied by 3. It's telling you that it's 10 multiplied by itself that many times. So how many times are you multiplying the 10? So here, since it's 3, there's going to be 10 times 10 times 10. So you see the 10 3 times.
So 1,000 is written as 10 to the third power using exponents. Tamara estimates that her horse will eat about 5,000 pounds of hay each year. How can you write 5,000 using exponents? 5 times 10 to the first power equals 5 times 10 equals 50. 5 times 10 to the second power equals 5 times 10 times 10 equals 500. 5 times 10 to the third power equals 5 times 10 times 10 times 10 equals 5,000.
What pattern do you notice?
The number of zeros in the product is the same as the exponent. So 5,000 is written as 5 times 10 to the third power using exponents.
All right, now that we got a chance to watch our short video lesson, I'm going to jump into our notes and our guided practice for this section. Now, our notes are going to be titled Patterns with Exponents and Powers of 10. We've already gone over our essential question or our main question for this lesson. how can you explain patterns in the number of zeros in a product? So a power, I'm going to give you some definitions here. We're going to go over the vocabulary so we understand what words we're using. Power is the product of multiplying the same number over and over and over again. The exponent is that little number that's written kind of higher up and smaller that tells us how many times that base number is used as a factor. So how many times is that number multiplied by itself? The base number is the number that you're using as a factor. So in the video, they focused on tenths, but I'm going to show it to you with some other numbers as well. So 3 to the first power, or 3 to the power of 1, is just 3. 3 to the second power, or to the power of 2, or 3 squared, you can also say. There's a lot of different ways to say it. But we'll say 3 to the power of 2 is 3 times 3. There's 2 of my 3's, which is 9. 3 to the power of 3 is 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. Now, our focus for this lesson is multiplying using powers of 10 specifically. So that's where we're going to focus. So 3 times 10 to the first power is just 3 times 10. So that 1 over here tells you how many zeros you've got. So 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 10 to the power of 2 is the same thing as saying 3 times 100, or 3 times 10 times 10, which gives you 300. 3 to the power of 3 is the same thing as saying 3 times 10 times 10 times 10, or 3 times 1,000, which gives you 3,000. So that exponent, that number that you have written higher up next to your number, tells you how many zeros you're going to have in that power of 10. Let's take a look at an example question together. It says a store sells batteries in packs of 10 batteries. They also sell boxes of 10 packs, cases of 10 boxes, and cartons of 10 cases. How many batteries are in one case? How many are in one carton? And how many are in 10 cartons? So let's stop and think about what we know. We know one pack is 10 batteries. One box is 10 of those packs. One case is 10 of those boxes, and one carton is 10 of those cases. So we need to figure out how many are in these different larger size containers. So one pack is 1 times 10 to the power of 1, which is 10. One pack is just 10 batteries. One box is 10 packs, so that's the same thing as saying 1 times 10 to the power of 2, or 1 times 10 times 10. So we know one box will give us 100. One case will be 1 times 10 to the power of 3. So 1 times 10 times 10 times 10, which will give you 1,000. And a carton is going to be 10 cases. So it's 1 times 10 to the power of 4. So 1 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which gives you 10,000. Now, if we're going to break it down and write it out so it's easier for us to follow, one case is the 10 batteries times the 10 packs of batteries times the 10 boxes that are in that case. And one carton is going to be the 10 batteries that we started with times the 10 packs times the 10 boxes and times the 10 cases will give you how much is in one carton. So 10 cartons was the last part of this question here. 10 cartons is going to be 10 to the power of 5 because we're having 10 more of these. So you're multiplying by 10 again. So 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. So this 5 tells you how many zeros are going to be in your number. So it's 1 followed by 5 zeros, or 100,000 batteries are going to be in 10 cartons. Now remember, the exponent tells you how many times your base number is multiplied by itself. So I'm going to give you another example here. So if I have 5 to the power of 2, I'm saying 5 times 5, and that's 25. If I have 10 to the power of 3, that's 10 times 10 times 10, or 1,000. Now this 5 to the power of 2 does not mean 5 times 2. It means 5 multiplied by itself 2 times. 10 to the power of 3 does not mean 10 times 3. It means 10 multiplied by itself 3 times. Let's take a look at another example before our guided practice. A company had 9 times 10 to the $6 in sales last year. Explain how to find the product of 9 times 10 to the power of 6. So 9 times 10 to the power of 6 is 9 multiplied by the product of 10 to the power of 6, or it's 10 multiplied by itself 6 times. So 10 to the power of 6 is a 1 with 6 zeros after it, right? Because we know that when we're working with powers of 10, that exponent tells us how many zeros we have. So 9 times 10 to the power of 6 is 9 times 10 6 times. So 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, or 9 times 1 million, which gives us $9 million. So the company had $9 million in sales last year. Next, let's jump into our guided practice. Your first guided practice question asks, why are there 3 zeros in the product of 6 times 10 to the power of 3? Well, we know 10 to the power of 3 tells us that there are 3 zeros after that 1, because it's 10 times 10 times 10. So 6 times 10 to the power of 3 is 6 times that 1,000, or 6,000. Number 2 says, Susan said that 10 to the power of 5 is 50. What mistake did she make? What is the correct answer? So if she said 10 to the power of 5 is 50, what she did was she accidentally multiplied 10 times 5 instead of doing 10 multiplied by itself 5 times, which would give you a 1 with 5 zeros after it, which is 100,000. And number 3, 10 to the power of 1 is 10. 10 to the power of 2 is 10 times 10, or 100. 10 to the power of 3 is 10 times 10 times 10, or 1,000. And 10 to the power of 4 is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. So 10 4 times, which gives you 10,000. Remember that power tells you the number of zeros that are going to be after your 1 when we're working with powers of 10. And for our last question, number 4, 70 is equal to 7 times 10 to the power of 1. 700 is going to be 7 times 10 to the power of 2, right? 10 to the power of 2 is 100. So 7 times 100 will give you 700. 7 times 10 to the power of 3, so that's 7 times 1,000, right? Because it has 3 zeros, will give you 7,000. And 7 times 10 to the power of 4, or 10,000, will give you 70,000. So remember, when you're working with exponents, that number, your exponent number, tells you how many times you're going to multiply that base number times itself. And when you're working specifically with powers of 10, that exponent tells you how many zeros are going to come after your 1. So if it's 10 to the power of 1, you've got 1 0. 10 to the power of 2 has 2 zeros, or 100. 10 to the power of 3 has 3 zeros, or 1,000, and so on and so on. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have an amazing day. Take care. Bye-bye.